social media presence, it might be advisable to utilize some channels of friends, maybe sponsors or other friends that do have a significant online social media presence. And in that way, you can syndicate valuable content, which can ultimately grow your audience. Now, once you've determined that you wish to create a registered event, another key component to this decision is whether the event will include a paywall or not, and also what type of information you need to collect during this registration process. So we'll go through a few of those type of events. Let's look firstly at the free event registration. Now that might be as simple as collecting the email addresses and names of your attendees, and some clients even provide the main sessions of the broadcast completely for free with no registration at all, but then offer many of the features of interactivity, the breakouts, maybe the post-event video on demand as perks, which come if you do that free registration. Such a free registration may be worth it to you in order for you to build your CRM database. Keep in mind that it's often advisable to actually connect the registration information collected here to your day-to-day source of truth client database so that you can make the most of the data. And also to understand how your audience has interacted with your event through the analytics, which we will address later. Once we've determined to do a registration, one of the next key questions is, should I charge for my event? Now, a paywall doesn't always mean that you have to sell tickets. An alternate option could be a voluntary suggested donation for the event, especially in the case of nonprofits, which technically for us works in much the same way as a ticket sale. Many event organizers will not actually cover the cost of the event simply through ticket sales, but with revenue from other sources coming from sponsors, donations, and other ancillary revenue channels during the event. Every event is different. For one portion of high demand, high ticket price events, paying the event bill is never a challenge. But for another portion of event producers, breaking even may be a very high priority for you. Now, as you would expect, the normal rule of supply and demand applied to your ticket sales. Now, more information at registration and higher ticket prices will typically lead to fewer people making a commitment and going through with a purchase. Another consideration that is often relevant for nonprofit events is that when you sell tickets, there is a requisite expectation created related to your event of a certain level of quality in the deliverables, which often includes a high-touch customer service necessity. And therefore, such organizations may choose the route of a suggested donation for a ticket instead. Now, there isn't a right or wrong approach in answering these questions. However, you should consider them alongside your main event metrics as you build your registration. The next section we're going to look at is gathering the right information for you. With any type of ticketing, you will need to determine the fields of information you wish to collect. These may include information necessary for registration and the smooth running of your event, information necessary to create a user profile in the event, and any other marketing information that is helpful for you. I'm just going to run through a list of examples of fields that you may consider, and we'll bring it up on the graphic. Name, your first and last name, email address, a full physical address, a partial physical address, country, state, postal code, telephone number, maybe social media links, a short bio, a profile picture of the attendee, a type of ticket required. You may want to suggest different types of audience journeys throughout the event. You may want to have a field for promotional codes, credit card information, and custom marketing questions and opt-ins. As we look at these fields, one of the questions that comes up, should I be concerned about privacy issues in collecting this data? As more and more companies have profited from using the personally identifiable information, PII, of their constituents, privacy concerns have become an increasing concern for any online endeavor. Now, in many countries around the world, legal frameworks have been created to protect citizens from the unscrupulous practices of certain online companies. Now, even if privacy concerns are something that you have never considered before, it's important if you have an online presence and you collect any kind of personally identifiable information that you give it a little bit of thought. If you have a web or an app presence, now would be a good time to develop your own privacy policy, terms of service, and perhaps a cookie policy to communicate that you are not one of those unscrupulous organizations who are going to sell data to the highest bidder. As you build the registration of your event, it's important to display these policies to your audience to communicate how you are using the audience's information. We typically find that displaying these opt-ins at the point of registration is the right place to communicate these policies. Related to these privacy issues is obviously GDPR, CCPA, and other legal requirements around the world. Now, if you have a significant audience in Europe, UK, or in California, it's important that your online event is compliant with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, EU and UK, and the California Consumer Privacy Act, the CCPA, respectively. You are responsible as the data controller of your constituents' information.